I never imagined that a simple family visit could turn my life upside down. I, Carla, 42 years old, have always been the example of a dedicated wife and mother. Married for 20 years to Marcos, we raised two wonderful daughters, Julia, 18, and Beatrice, 16. Our home was the portrait of the perfect family. Or at least that's what I thought. Everything changed when my nephew Felipe came to visit us at the age of 23. He was the image of youth and vitality, tall, strong, with a smile that lit up any room. Felipe was the son of my older brother, who lived in another city. We hadn't seen him for years. The transformation from the boy I knew to the man who arrived at my door took me completely by surprise. Aunt Carla exclaimed, wrapping me in a tight hug. Her firm body against mine sent an unexpected wave of heat down my spine. "Felipe, how have you grown?" I replied, moving away a little, trying to ignore the strange feeling that hug had caused. The first days of Felipe's visit were calm. He spent time with his cousins talking about college and his plans for the future. Marcos. I was traveling for work, so it was just me, the girls, and Felipe at home. It was a hot summer night when everything changed. I had a habit of walking around the house in my nightgown before bed, checking that everything was in order. It was never a problem since the girls were used to it, and Marcos was rarely home at that time. I was in the kitchen drinking a glass of water when I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw Felipe standing in the doorway, his eyes scanning my body in a way that made me blush instantly. "Sorry," and he murmured, his voice hoarser than usual. "I just came to get a glass of water." Suddenly aware of the transparency of my nightgown under the kitchen light, I crossed my arms over my chest. "Of course, Felipe, make yourself at home." He approached, and the small space of the kitchen seemed to shrink even more. I could feel the heat emanating from his body, hear his slightly accelerated breathing. "Aunt Carla," Felipe began, his low and intense voice, "you are so beautiful." Before I could react, his lips were on mine. The kiss was intense, passionate, unlike anything I had ever experienced before. For a moment I got lost in the sensation, my body responding in a way that scared me and excited me at the same time. Then the reality of what we were doing hit me like a bolt of lightning. I pushed Felipe away, panting and shocked. "This can't happen," I said, my voice trembling. Philip took a step into his eyes. "I wish I knew you felt it too, Aunt. We can't deny it." I left the room hurriedly. My heart was beating so hard I felt like it was going to explode. What have I done? How is this happening? I lay in my bed. I couldn't see the pain of Felipe's lips on mine, the feel of his body. I chased after myself. I knew it was wrong, that it was forbidden, but a part of me craved more. The desires that followed were torture. Every time I passed Felipe around the house, the tension between us was palpable. I tried to avoid him, to get busy with the girls and the housework, but it was impossible to ignore his presence. The desire that was growing between us. One afternoon, while the girls were at school, I found myself alone with Felipe again. I was folding clothes in the laundry room when he came in, closing the door behind him. "Yes, Aunt Carla," said her voice low and intense. "We need to talk." I felt my heart race. "There's nothing to talk about, Felipe. What happened was a mistake." He came closer and I stepped back until I felt the washing machine behind me. "It wasn't a mistake," he insisted. "You felt it too." "I know you felt it." His eyes were fixed on mine, full of a mix of desire and vulnerability that completely disarmed me. Before I could answer, his lips found mine again. This time I had no strength to resist the kiss. It was passionate, urgent, years of repressed desire exploding in a moment of pure madness. My hands found his muscular chest, while his explored my body with an urgency that left me breathless. "This is crazy," you whisper. "I know," Felipe answered, his hands sliding down my back, "but I can't stay away from you." In that moment, all reason, all morality I knew seemed to melt. We made love right there in the laundry room, the sound of the washing machine drowning out our moans. It was wrong, it was forbidden, but it was intense and passionate, like nothing I had ever experienced before. After the reality of what we had done fell on us like a crushing weight, I walked away from Felipe, fixing my clothes with shaking hands. "This can't happen again," I said, my voice cracked. Felipe nodded, but his eyes told a different story. "I know, Aunt, but I don't know if I can promise." The days that followed were a roller coaster of emotions. We tried to keep up appearances in front of the girls, but every moment alone was loaded with sexual tension and guilt. We found ways to be alone, a stolen moment in the courtyard, an accidental encounter in the hallway late at night. Every time we were together, desire always won. The situation became even more complicated when Marcos called saying he would be back earlier than expected. The guilt I felt intensified, mixed with a paralyzing fear of being discovered. The eve of Marcos's return, Felipe and I met in the back garden. After everyone had gone to sleep. "What are we going to do?" I asked, feeling tears forming in my eyes. Felipe pulled me towards him. His hug strong and comforting. "I don't know, Aunt. I just know I don't want to lose you, but this can't continue," I answered, my voice cracked. "We have to stop. We made love one last time that night under the stars, every touch, every kiss laden with farewell. We tried to memorize every detail, every sensation, knowing it would be the last time." The next morning the atmosphere was heavy. Felipe announced he would return to his city earlier, claiming an emergency at the university. The girls were disappointed, but I felt a mix of relief and pain. When the time came for Felipe to leave, we hugged briefly in front of the girls. "Thank you for everything, Aunt," he said, his voice laden with hidden meanings. "Take care, Felipe," the first answered, feeling my heart break. I watched Felipe's car drive away, taking with it a part of me I never knew existed. I knew nothing would be the same as before. My marriage, my family, my own identity, everything had been shaken by this forbidden passion. Marcos arrived that night, tired but happy to be home. As he hugged me, I felt a pang of guilt so strong it almost drowned me. "Is everything okay, dear?" he asked, noticing my expression. I forced a smile. "Of course, I'm just tired." "How was the trip?" In the days and weeks that followed, I tried to reintegrate into my normal life, being a wife, mother, housewife, but there was a constant shadow in my thoughts, a memory of what I had lived with Felipe that refused to disappear. Family gatherings, they became a challenge. Every time I saw Felipe, my heart raced. We exchanged glances loaded with meaning, brief moments of contact that seemed to burn my skin. It was a sweet torture, a constant reminder of what we had lived, and of what we could never have again. Months went by. I tried to convince myself that what had happened with Felipe was just a temporary madness, a moment of weakness. I dedicated myself more to my marriage. I tried to be the perfect wife I always was, but in the silent nights when everyone was asleep, I found myself remembering those intense moments. Felipe's touch, his passionate kisses, the way he made me feel alive and desired in a way I had not experienced for a long time. A year after what happened, I received an invitation to Felipe's wedding. My heart sank as I read the elegant card. He was moving on, building his own life, and I was trapped in a limbo of desire and regret. The wedding day, me in the church next to Marcos, watching Felipe make his vows with his young bride. Our eyes met for a brief moment during the ceremony, and I felt the full weight of our shared history. At the reception, we got a moment alone. "How are you, Aunt?" Felipe asked, his soft voice. "Fine," I lied. "And you happy?" He smiled, but there was a shadow in his eyes. "I'm trying to be, but I'll never forget what we lived." We stayed silent for a moment, the weight of everything we couldn't say floating between us. "Do you think that someday this will pass?" I asked, finally, my voice almost a whisper. Felipe sighed. "I don't know, maybe, or maybe we have to learn to live with this." I nodded, understanding perfectly what he meant. What we had lived had marked us in a way that we could never completely erase. We returned to the party, each one following his path, carrying our secret like an invisible weight. Life continued. The people around us laughed and celebrated, oblivious to the whirlwind of emotions that was happening inside us. Today, years after the intense summer, I look back and think about how those moments, they changed my life forever. The guilt is still there, as well as the regret for the lies and for the risk we took, but there is also a part of me that refuses to fully repent. What I experienced with Felipe taught me about the intensity of desire, about the complexity of love, and about the limits that society and morality impose on our emotions. It was wrong, it was dangerous, but it was also the most profound and transformative experience of my life. Sometimes when I am alone, I allow myself to relive those moments in my mind. The touch of their hands, the warmth of their kisses, the connection we felt is a bittersweet memory, a secret I will carry forever. Felipe and I never speak openly about what happened again. It is a closed chapter in our lives, a shared secret that unites us and separates us at the same time. But sometimes when our eyes meet at a family gathering, I see in them the reflection of that passion that once consumed us. I know that what we did was wrong in the eyes of society and morality. I know that we ran the risk of destroying our family, but I also know that for a brief moment I experienced love and passion that many spend their entire lives without knowing, and perhaps in the end that is the greatest lesson I learned, that love in all its forms is a powerful and unpredictable force that sometimes takes us to places we never imagined, makes us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves. As I continue my life being a wife and mother, I carry with me the memories of that intense period, a constant reminder that life is complex, that love does not always follow the rules, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to leave and be. And so with the weight of this secret and the richness of this experience, I continue my path, a woman marked by a forbidden passion, but determined to live each day fully, carrying with me the lessons of love, desire and sacrifice that I learned in that unforgettable summer with my nephew. Life goes on, the seasons change, and I continue here keeping a secret that changed everything, but that also taught me the true meaning of love, sacrifice and forgiveness, not only for others but mainly for myself. I look at my family, my husband, my daughters, and I feel a mix of deep love and persistent guilt. They have no idea of the secret I keep, of the internal battle I fight every day. Sometimes I wonder if one day I will be able to forgive myself completely, if one day I will be able to look at Felipe without feeling that pang of desire and regret. But then I remember that we are imperfect and complex humans, that love and desire do not always follow the rules that society imposes, that sometimes our most controversial actions are the ones that teach us the most about ourselves. And so I continue living my family, being the best person I can be. I carry with me the memory of that summer like a secret treasure, a part of me that no one else knows. It is my burden, my blessing, my life lesson, because in the end that is what life is, a series of choices, of moments that define us, of secrets that shape us. And I choose to live fully with all the contradictions and complexities that this implies, because that is what makes me human, what makes me who I am. And maybe one day, when I am older and more, I can look back without regret, only with the understanding that every experience, every choice, every secret brought me here to this moment, this life, this version of myself, and that in the end is all we can hope to live, love, learn, and most of all, forgive others and ourselves.